one slap will mean something goes scatter in the vinde. Kwokane ye ram shinga mwe nikaye uroduela miduega ataviwe.
Angbanev de yeren kwaya shinga pagachi doemi sitima myongo hin ate utiv sha itioki Citizen FM 93.7 gadioka shin ogwan Angbanev kwa ngwan kwa machi henen kwachi ama chotom ihyemion danza akwa aha ate utichi kati wase sha itioki Citizen FM ate utichi tichi
93.7 Citizen FM.
Let's talk about it on our favorite radio station.
We're more than just a radio station. We are a part of your life.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us on Citizen FM 93.7. It's time for Insight. My name is Lawrence Umotte. It's 8 minutes past 10, and we are good to go on Insight today. What are we talking about? Yes, I know you guessed right. It's the World Press Freedom Day. 2023 marks the 30th anniversary of the World Press Freedom Day. 3 decades have passed since it was proclaimed in 1993, in which we have seen substantial progress, no doubt, towards achieving a free press and freedom of expression around the world. The proliferation of independent media in many countries and the rise of digital technologies have enabled a free flow of information. However, media freedom, safety of journalists, and freedom of expression are increasingly under attack across the world, and this has impacted the fulfillment of other human rights. The international community faces multiple crises, conflicts and violence, persistent socio-economic inequalities, driving migration, environmental crisis, and challenges to the health and well-being of people around the world. This year's special 30th anniversary celebration of the World Press Freedom Day is therefore a call to recent press freedom, as well as independent, pluralistic, and diverse media as key to enjoyment of all other human rights. Now, according to the United Nations, truth is threatened by disinformation and hate speech seeking to blur the lines between facts and fiction, between science and conspiracy. The UN says at least 67 media workers were killed in 2022, an unbelievable 50% increase over the previous year. Nearly 3/4 of women journalists have experienced violence online, and 1 in 4 have been threatened physically. 10 years ago, the United Nations established a plan of action on the safety of journalists to protect media workers and end impunity for crimes committed against them. So that's all we are going to talk about on Insight today, the World Press Freedom Day. And my guest is also a journalist, a senior broadcast editor, Amadine Uyi, who is a bureau chief for News Central and also the head of Northern Operation of News Central. Amadine, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Hello. Okay. Thank you, Amadine, for joining us.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Yes. You can join our live stream on YouTube by typing in Citizen FM 93.7, and also you can follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and also on Twitter at Citizen FM 937. So that's how it's going to be for the next 45 minutes or thereabout. The World Press Freedom Day. But before we start, maybe we should just listen to a message from the United Nations.
For 3 decades, on World Press Freedom Day, the international community has celebrated the work of journalists and media workers. This day highlights a basic truth. All our freedom depends on press freedom. Freedom of the press is the foundation of democracy and justice. It gives all of us the facts we need to shape opinions and speak truth to power. And as this year's theme reminds us, press freedom represents the very lifeblood of human rights. But in every corner of the world, freedom of the press is under attack. Truth is threatened by disinformation and hate speech, seeking to blur the lines between fact and fiction, between science and conspiracy. The increased concentration of the media industry into the hands of a few, the financial collapse of scores of independent news organizations, and an increase of national laws and regulations that stifle journalists are further expanding censorship and threatening freedom of expression. Meanwhile, journalists and media workers are directly targeted on and offline as they carry out their vital work. They are routinely harassed, intimidated, detained, and imprisoned. At least 67 media workers were killed in 2022, an unbelievable 50% increase over the previous year. Nearly 3/4 of women journalists have experienced violence online, and 1 in 4 have been threatened physically. 10 years ago, the United Nations established a plan of action on the safety of journalists to protect media workers and then the impunity for crimes committed against them. On this and every World Press Freedom Day, the world must speak with one voice. Stop the threats and attacks. Stop detaining and imprisoning journalists for doing their jobs. Stop the lies and disinformation. Stop targeting truth and truth tellers. As journalists stand up for truth, the world stands up with them.
Looking for the best in news update?
Yeah, man.
Listen to Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja.
Yes, that was a message by Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, on World Press Freedom Day. That's just to set the tone for the program today. Amadine, let's start it. Let's look at even the practice of journalism. How challenging is the role of a media professional, especially during these times? Let's start from there.
Now, Lawrence, really, the advent of social media has changed the way journalism, has changed the face of journalism. The advent of social media has brought on board a lot of citizen journalists. And because of this, you have this category of people, many of them are not trained. Many of them think because social media gives you power, you just throw whatever you want to throw. You know, what makes a journalist stand out is your ability to verify whatever information. So those days when the traditional media held sway, it was very, very difficult to accept that fake news was a norm. In fact, a lot of people could sue the journalists or the media organization if they felt they put in something that was that misled the public. But now you see it like a blitz. Fake news, unverified information coming on. And so it puts a lot of pressure on the journalists.
On the mainstream media.
Yes, on the mainstream media and on the journalists. Those days you could just tell yourself, I won't follow it up. I believe my hunch tells me it's not true. But when you go to social media, you see that it's trending. You will now be forced to begin to investigate. So that, because that barrage of information makes it almost and always want to look as if it is real, though it is fake. So you see misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, whatever way you want to classify it, it's there. And people can tend to always want to follow the bandwagon as far as everybody is saying it. Then you have those who, by reason of them having so many followers, they don't call themselves influencers. Some of them intentionally, because they are paid to do so. The journalistic code of ethics does not guide them. They intentionally spread fake news. And because they know that they have thousands of followers,
if not millions,
who will just accept whatever they dish out. So you see, there's so much problem.
Amadi, maybe we should also look at the increasing appetite of the masses for information. Talking about the pressure, talking about trying to follow up stories. People these days don't want to wait for, maybe 12 noon where a station will have their flagship news, or wait for the next edition of the newspaper to come out. People want information as it happens. They want details as it happens.
Yes, that's why I said that we're in an information age. There's so much information flying about. People, like we always say, social media gives even fools a voice. So you see people, because they are itching to find out what is happening. The next thing, you see these people who are also looking for followers, who automatically attribute followers to more money, and the rest. So they want to feed these hungry people. It's just as you have ravenous wolves, hungry, ready to devour anything, and you just throw something inside. They don't want to care whether it's poisoned. They don't want to care whether it will be the end of them. All they want to know is that they are hungry. They want to fulfill that appetite. We've had several of them get into trouble, but it's still not enough. Some say social media should be regulated. But the question is, are you looking at only the downside? If you are looking at only the downside, you say it should be regulated. There are benefits. There are organizations, there are groups that have used social media as a force for good. Why don't we adopt the strategy they have followed instead of looking at sometimes you really get tired. Even us in the mainstream media, you see the misinformation being going, you just get tired. And you have this generation of ignorant people who want to devour anything. They don't want to care. They tell you that, I tell them that, do you know Lawrence, this thing has never worked anywhere apart from radio all his life. They just accept it. None of them even thinks that I should go back and look at the background of Lawrence, look at his years of experience, and look at whether indeed he has worked for only radio. They are not interested. All they want is just that information that will feed that hungry appetite at that moment in time. So there's so much pressure. But like I said from the beginning, social media is changing the landscape of journalism and how journalism operates. But I don't want to be among the school of thought that thinks that sees social media as the devil's work tool. I think social media is still a force for good. Social media has been used to this thing. Look at the recent elections. The candidate that came third, people said he had no structure, but he was able to use social media to build a cult-like following. which were able to translate to a lot of votes. And someone who everybody wrote off, he came third in the elections. So social media has its positives, though it also has tremendous negatives which should keep us worried. And that's why some countries just outrightly control social media, but you still cannot control it because the technology is improving every day. There are ways to sidestep whatever booby traps or whatever barricades you put on the way, and people will still use it. Even in countries where social media is regulated, you will be shocked that they still use social media the way they want to use social media. I had a friend who, not even a friend, a relative, who came from China a while ago. She said the Chinese government regulates it, but through VPN, they bypass whatever and still have access to whatever they want to do. So yes, social media has come to stay. We must accept it. But also, we must still look for a way to be able to manage it, to see that it does not destroy us, but instead, it increases and improves us.
Okay, Amadine, one of the issues that professionals in the industry always grapple with every time, year in, year out, is the issue of censorship. Censorship from maybe the interest of the media owners, and censorship from the government, political leaders, and every other thing. So, as a professional, how do you balance this? How do you balance? Some people have said maybe professionals should look at self-censorship. Where does it start? Where does it end?
I wanted to get there as you just talked about censorship. As a professional, you must self-censor yourself. That you must tell yourself that this is an extreme. Are you understanding that this is an extreme? That this does not look at the kind of society where you practice, then self-censor yourself, because whether you like it or not, there's no absolute freedom. The government has the right to come down on you. There are laws in the Nigerian constitution. Citizens have the right to seek for redress. But you see this generation of people who have found themselves on social media. They don't even understand that. This morning I was just on Twitter a while ago and saw someone who was supposed to be a respected Nigerian. He made several allegations on social media, and I laughed. And I said, this man is trying to put himself in trouble. Because if those who he was making it against decide to take it to court. I told you of a young man I knew a few years ago who went to put false information on Facebook about about the head of a certain government agency. When the man saw it, he was aggrieved and he took him to court. And court asked him, okay, you have put this case of corruption that so and so person stole money. Can we get the evidence? He couldn't provide the evidence. He was sentenced here in Abuja. He was sentenced to 7 years without the option of fine. In fact, he was lucky that COVID came after he had spent like 4 or 5 years. And he was one of those that received pardons because government was trying to decongest prisons during the COVID season. But he has spent like 4 or 5 years, wasted 4 or 5 years because he just went. And a lot of our youths do it. You hear that this person did it, you just begin to put it. This person is a thief. This person stole this. You don't have any evidence. If that person happens to come across that tweet or that post and decide to take you to court, you are in trouble. So it's not a case of government is clamping that. That is not free speech. Free speech does not allow you to slander somebody or tarnish the reputation of somebody. That is not free speech. Your right ends where another person's right begins. So we, as professionals, the first thing you must do is self-censorship. I, as a professional, there are lines I don't cross. I see a lot of people cross those lines. I laugh, but they are not professionals. They are not a professional like myself. There are lines I don't cross. Lines that relate to gender, there are certain lines I don't cross. So that is my self-censorship, so that I will not go this route. If you give me an information, I must listen. I have to sit down very well, assess certain things. Even as a journalist, it is not even all information you are allowed to publish under the journalism code of ethics.
Yes, Amadine, I was even coming to that because as professionals, there are information that sometimes you try to manage in the interest of public, for public good.
Public good and
national,
public peace.
National security.
Any information that will cause conflict or crisis between ethnic groups, between religious groups.
That will incite.
Yes, that will incite. It's against the journalism code. So even if you come and give me the biggest scoop in the world, and I know that the moment I publish this information, it will make different ethnic groups begin to fight, and lives and property are lost, or religious group, I don't publish it.
You see, sometimes
it's the journalism code of ethics. Sometimes
we also underrate the power of the media. I remember a few years ago in the northern part of the country, a radio station went on and on about there was this immunization, the campaign for immunization, the controversy and everything. And a radio station was careless to go on air and say certain things that led to spontaneous riots in that part of the country and led to the death of people. Understand? So at the end of the day, it turned out that the information was not accurate.
And is how can they now live with themselves?
You understand? And sometimes also maybe because of competition, in this day and age and technology, we try to outdo one another. Breaking news, according to my senior colleague in the industry, he said, I would rather not break the news and wait to verify it than break the news and end up behind bars or end up being responsible for the deaths of so many innocent people and stuff like that. But Amadine, we need to move because there are a lot to talk about. You spoke about self-censorship. Sometimes we wonder, how do we do this without becoming an accomplice?
No, Lawrence, you see, like I said, you have to draw the lines. It's not about becoming... You remember I covered security for many years. I was in the thick of covering security. I was one of the very few journalists that was deployed to the Northeast. I stayed in the Northeast.
And I know, I
covering
remember that time you
the crisis, covering everything, but I could not publish everything I got because you have to have a country first before you can practice whatever profession you want to practice. You have to have a running country first before you can even say you want to demonstrate on the street. You have to have a country first before you say you want to take somebody to court. Are you understanding me now? If you are among those that use your profession to destroy the structures of government and governance, you are doing a disservice not to yourself alone, but to millions of Nigerians. Let me give an example. Terrorists go and attack a locality, and maybe they attack a military distance. Everybody will think it's a big news to say terrorists or Boko Haram or whatever. But the truth about the matter is, let us remember first that media is fuel of terrorism.
That's what they want.
The terrorists want you to publish their exploits. They want you, by publishing their exploits, you send fear into the populace. Are you understanding me now? So they cannot thrive and they cannot if the media gives them a blackout. Nigeria is not the only country that has insecurity challenges. Nigeria is not. You'll be surprised that there are many countries that have worse than Nigeria. But they don't run down military institutions. They don't run down governments. Because last, as Nigerians always say, it is these soldiers who are in the trenches. It is because they are in the trenches you are able to sleep with your two eyes closed. If you run their morale down and run them down, don't appreciate their efforts, the military does 50 operations, is successful, the terrorists do one operation is successful and you blow the terrorists' own, disregarding the 50 operations the military has done, you are running down the morale of the military, because the military are not an institution that thrives on selling what they do to the public, because they know that is not their core mandate. But I tell people, I say, for every terrorist attack you see that is successful, there are 30 military attacks that have gone on, military operations that have gone unreported, which were successful. So when you now make it look as if you are selling to the populace, as if I once upon a time I began to hear the terrorists are more sophisticated than the army. They are more, but we know that is not true. The weapons the terrorists use, is it not when they succeed, they pick military weapons? Are you understand? That is not true. But it had come to a point where everybody began to believe it. You hear Nigerians on the street say it and talk down on this institution that is doing so much and making so much. Go to the barracks and see how many children have become orphans, how many women have lost their husbands because their husbands pay the ultimate price in the trenches for Nigeria to remain one. And then you now run down this. So that is why, as a media, first of all, censorship, then understand what is a thorough understanding. I went somewhere else and people were talking. I was seated there and someone got up and said, government did this, government did, and I turned to the person. I said, what you are saying is totally false. He said, I said, it's not about. I said, okay, tell me the proof. Tell everybody the proof.
Okay, Amadi, you see, I understand what you're saying, because I also know that some Nigerians equate their love or their hatred for a particular government to the nation. For the mere fact that they hate a particular government in power, they translate it to hatred for the nation, which are two distinct things. Nigeria as a nation is yours forever. No matter the government in charge, does not mean that you should hate your country. This thing you're saying came home to me recently. A colleague listened to our broadcast, our news broadcast, and called me and said, that your news, I listened to your news. We didn't hear bad stories or just boring stories. By boring stories, he meant positive stories. And he wanted to hear that, that something happened, there was a bomb blast somewhere, there was an attack somewhere, there was this and that. And I said, look, we are Nigerians. So that shouldn't be what you look out for and everything. But then, it's neither here nor there.
Lawrence, I remember the time in Abuja. Every Sunday we were going to church, we were praying that yes, will not get a call. Because you could not attend a full church service.
And I remember how many times I've called you from the church service.
But now, does it happen? So when I hear people make it, I say, see, listen, by reason, I don't think I have a relationship with anybody to begin to protect anybody's interests. But I want to be a responsible citizen. And a responsible citizen, the first thing you do is, first of all, tell yourself the truth and be ready to defend the truth, no matter which government, just like you said. This is what the Americans fundamentally understand. They understand that we have two major political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. But the U.S. as it is our country. When you see them hold their flag, they are weeping. They don't care who is in power. They might not be happy with the government in power, but they know that the country is their own. That is what Nigerians must do. Nigerians must love Nigeria. Forget all these agitations, because I have had reason to travel out of this country, and these divisions only exist. By the time you travel out of this country, you see your fellow Nigerian. You don't even remember whether the person is a Christian or a Muslim, or whether the person is Yoruba, is Igbo, or is Hausa, is Shekiri. The first thing you identify is that this person is a Nigerian. And my little cousin, traveled early this year for her masters in Scotland. And while she was there, the first 2 weeks, she told us, see, I'm looking for a job, this. All of a sudden, she was going somewhere and she entered the train. As soon as she entered the train, she just heard two Nigerian ladies just speaking. It was not even her language, but by reason of her growing there, she knew the greetings. So she just smiled. When they thought, she just greeted them. They said, you are here, you are new here. Yeah, that's how they started conversing. She said she just came, she's still looking, trying to say, she's still looking for a job. They say, you're looking for a job? Okay, we'll send you, give us your number, we'll send you. That's how, within 2 weeks, she had looked for a job for close to a month. Within 2 weeks, she met those ladies. Just because she is Nigerian, they connected her, and she sent a message that these people I met, I have not met them before, they've helped me. That's why I tell people, so when you are in the country, you go to social media, you want to push ethnic agitations, ethnic agenda, cause division, cause religious division, it is because you are myopic and you're not exposed. You don't know how the world works.
All right, Amadine, we need to take a short break now. When we come back, we'll look at some other issues. But let's take a short break and perhaps also use the opportunity to listen to some journalists speak about the World Press Freedom Day. Don't go away. Insights will return in a moment.
Hello, good morning. I'm Sam Ulubimini, a Nigerian broadcast journalist. On World Press Freedom Day, I am reminded that journalists have a responsibility to keep putting out information that is factual, that is the truth. And we also have a responsibility to hold people, individuals, and government accountable. Unfortunately, we are beginning to see this being eroded because of a special interest. We have people of special interest who are hijacking ownership of media structures and thereby censoring information. We, in fact, also have governments that have been unable to see.
Well, Press Freedom Day is supposed to be a day for us as some journalists to look back and ask ourselves some basic truths or some basic questions. Is the press truly free? How far have we gone in our jobs to ensure that we do what we're supposed to do? Are we actually doing the job of the press, journalism, or we're just doing public relations? In Nigeria, you could argue that it's a bit fair. Even though government and regulators have found ways, through policies and other means to put a bit of a checkmate on the press, you could still argue that it's still fair, and that's when you're comparing it to a lot of countries. But generally speaking, I think the press is under attack. Journalism in general is under attack, even in Western worlds. Everybody believes they can do the world of journalists in today's world, and so it's a bit of a challenge. But that being said, we'll strive to keep doing what needs to be done.
Secure the lives of people who do critical jobs like journalism. And so we, on a day like this, we're reminded that people, institutions have a huge responsibility towards ensuring that there is continued freedom of speech, continued freedom of expression, and people have a right. It's their basic rights to, have access to truthful information, and for them to be able to hold government institutions and hold individuals as well accountable. And that is what the media is out here to do for them. And particularly in Nigeria, we can only continue to hope that the voices and the works of journalists are not stifled, and that we can keep putting out the truth without any form of fear.
World Press Freedom Day is a day celebrated to increase public awareness of the value of press freedom, and also to remind government of their responsibility to protect and respect the right to free expression.
Okay, to me, it's just a reminder to governments of the need to respect their commitment to press freedom, and also a day of reflection among media professionals about their issues of press freedom and professional ethics. And I think today is also an opportunity to celebrate the fundamental principles of press freedom, also a day to defend the media from attacks on their independence, and also a day to pay tribute to journalists who have lost their lives, unfortunately, in the line of duty.
93.7 Citizen FM.
Let's talk about it on our favorite radio station.
We're more than just a radio station. We are a part of your life.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. That was Vox Pop on some senior journalists bearing their minds on the World Press Freedom Day. It's still Insight on Citizen FM 93.7. My guest is still here, Amadine Uyi, and the phone lines are open now. You can call us on 0903 22797. That's 0903 22797. You can also call us on 0818 205 and also on 0818 206. You can also send us a WhatsApp message on any of the numbers and let us talk. It's still Insight, and we are looking at the World Press Freedom Day. Amadine Uyi is a senior broadcast editor. He is my guest. Amadine, let's look at one other issue that I know that every professional has encountered at one time or another. And this is the relationship between government officials and journalists when it comes to the release of information. Sometimes information that are harmless, not information on nuclear weapon or security, harmless information. And also, that's one. And also, two, the readiness of our officials of government to release information to foreign media as against the media operatives in the country.
I think it has to do with incompetence. They don't know, because the truth about the matter is that we are, unfortunately, one of the banes of our society is that people are given responsibilities without thorough monitoring and assessment of their performance. So you see, you have officials who, you need information.
Well, Amadina, I think we need to take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Citizen FM.
Yes, good morning. Who's on the line, please?
This is Emmanuel calling you from Yanya.
Okay, Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Oris. I really enjoy what you people are doing. Talking about the relationship between journalists, the nation, the government, and the citizen. I think one of the things that have made the American, especially America, stand out is that the journalists, first of all, call out the government whenever something goes wrong. The journalists does not spare the government. The journalists do not have religion. The journalists do not have a political party. You know, this thing we are talking in Nigeria is just like a man saying that a man that his mouth smells is complaining against the teeth, that the teeth smell. Instead of, first of all, agreeing that the mouth smells, and when you have treated the rotten mouth, you can be able to treat the rotten teeth. Now, your guest just said that a sister, her nephew, went to Scotland and meet Nigerians. That is Nigerians for you outside. But if it is in Nigeria, the first thing that we first of all want to know is who religion does she practice and where does she come from. Of recent in Nigeria, we have seen a seasoned journalist, a respected journalist, worldwide respected journalist, going to Twitter and profiling some group of people in Nigeria. The government did not call him to order. The journalist did not call him to the order. And you will expect the citizen to behave right? How? Until you realize that that nationhood is built based on purely on giving everybody equal rights and justice in the nation, everybody seeing themselves as part of that nation, not some people seeing themselves as outside the nation, as they have nothing to do with the nation. Once there is that kind of crack in a nation, That's what you get in the social media. And the only way you can address it is for you to first of all look at the nation. What are we doing that makes people believe that they are not part and parcel of this nation?
All right.
What are we doing that makes people see themselves different from this nation?
Okay, my brother.
You address it, you cannot address the other ones.
Thank you.
It's just like saying that the teeth is rotten when the mouth is actually where the problem is.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, the number to call is 0903 2279797. You can also call us on 0818 205 or 0818 206. Amadine, you can continue with your thoughts.
So, as I was saying earlier on, we as journalists, yes, there's a responsibility, but let me just address a bit. You see, the work of a journalist, there are different cadres of journalism. That's what some people don't know. There's investigative journalism, where you uncover what is wrong in society, publish it. We have great investigative journalists in Nigeria. Last year at the Wole Soyinka Awards, I was the first runner-up for a report I did that exposed corruption. But coming out on air to abuse government every day is not journalism. That is not journalism. If you have facts, present it to the public so that those agencies that don't have that facts can take it up from there. But like I said, the Americans, they love their country. It's just like they say, soldier go, soldier come, barrack remain. We cannot change our state, our nationality, but we can change our government. And we practice a multi-party democracy, which tells us that every 4 years there will be an election. You vote this government, 1 or 2 or 3 years you realize that you have made a mistake, you have an opportunity to change the government. But in a situation where people say we will not move forward because of just one election, Nigeria is not the only country that began to have election disputes. In fact, the current American government, they had election dispute prior to the swearing in. There are still Americans who believe that the election was rigged. There are still Americans today, you call them and say, no, this man didn't win. He rigged the election. Go to Florida, go to Georgia. They will tell you that. But has it stopped their government from running? By next year, there will be another election, another American election. If you feel you can rally people to vote. But you will not say the American system which will not go forward because certain people. Yes, it's normal. We are human beings. Some say we disagree to agree. Not everybody will believe in the same thing. Not everybody will have the same disposition towards one or two candidates. But the election affords people. And after the election, no matter what you think, the courts are there. And after the court rules, life goes on. Well, that is why the lawyers will tell you, if once the final ruling, they will bow down. They have argued, spend weeks or months arguing as your lordship pleases, because the judge or justice has ruled on that matter. So it's apt that we look at these issues. World Press Freedom Day, with the responsibilities of the press. Just like I said, you as a practicing professional, there must be self-censorship. The fact that it is on social media does not mean the traditional media must carry it, because the traditional media has to be more circumspect. The traditional media will go out of their way to do their investigation. And when they tell you, even if you don't believe, they cannot kill you. They move on. If you choose to accept that which is a lie, it's your business. But the traditional media will go out of his way, do a thorough investigation, because the traditional media is an entity that can be held responsible. Most of those voices on social media, how many do you? In fact, if you say you just want to begin to, I see many nonsense on social media. People put a lot of falsehood, a lot of lie, slander people, tarnish people's reputation just because they have access to social media. The fact that it is ongoing does not make it right.
Okay, yeah, Ahmadine, yes, and also to say that the last speaker, the last caller, I beg your pardon, alluded to the fact that, in other countries, the media call out their leaders. In Nigeria, the media do call out their leaders. It's just that
they were one of the major players doing the military to bring in democracy.
Sometimes we just ignore some of our history, or sometimes we don't have institutional memory. You understand? If we go down memory lane, even in this republic alone, I remember when I was covering the National Assembly, when a certain president wanted to stay longer than necessary in power, even after serving 2 terms. It was the media that was at the forefront of that campaign. It was so heated. A lot of Nigerians, younger Nigerians, may not know.
Despite the president till today denying that he didn't want to do it.
Yes, but
the media presented facts.
We were covering the National Assembly that time. We know what happened. So even during Madin, you said something about the military era. During the June 12, a lot of people see June 12. They just read about. They don't know what happened. They don't know the sacrifice that the Nigerian media paid that time. It was a military regime. A lot of our colleagues today are no more.
A lot of who were lost. A lot of who became blind in detention.
Because of that, the media took this battle. The media was at the forefront.
Lawrence, something happened a few days ago. There's a particular account I follow on social media, and all of a sudden, I don't know what just got into that young man's head. He has thousands of followers, and he just put something about Nigerian media not covering crisis, waiting for this thing, and that is what people want to hear, and all of a sudden people is one insult upon the other. The Nigerian media is this, the Nigerian media is that. I was on that account, and when I saw it, first of all, I felt very sad. Why? Because I myself, I know when I was covering the Northeast, I went without insurance. I went without a bulletproof vest. I was not in the class of Nima Obagi that went to Sambisa with a whole battalion of military behind us. So what I just did was that I just told him, I said, well, since you have decided to call out the media, is most unfortunate, but just don't forget the role the media play. And I posted 3 pictures of myself in the thick and thin of it. I just posted those pictures. I said, this is what we do, but we don't blow our trumpets because we don't expect you to commend us. It's our job, and we have to do it. But since you have decided to call the media, I wish you well. And all of a sudden, people now started, because I remembered when the height of insecurity, 2014, I was in the field. Not with security, not with this. I did not have insurance to say that. Yes, if I died, something will happen to my family. I was shuttling from Yola to Mubi, from Mubi to Madagali, covering the attacks and the rest as a journalist, sending it. I did all this before even any international media came to Nigeria that they wanted to visit the crisis zone. But we don't blow our trumpets because we have accepted this job as our profession. We know the risk, we know the expectations, we know what is expected of us, and we did it and we moved on. Not because we wanted to receive commendation from the public, but we felt it was a responsibility we owed Nigerians and we owed our country. So sometimes it is easy, just like you said, to come out and criticize the media, to come out and insult the media. Like I said, social media gives everybody a voice. Everybody can say what they want to say despite not even knowing anything. Nigerians, journalists have paid the supreme price with their life from several organizations. I can begin to mention names up to the recent election. Remember, I was still beaten by security operatives in this recent general election where I went to cover the election. Remember that incident? I was assaulted, beaten, but will I say because 1 or 2 trans security operatives did it means the security institution is bad? No, it doesn't change. It definitely, the leadership did not sanction them to do it. Are you understanding me now? So I have no right to now criticize that agency and say they are bad and the rest, or the country is bad. I understand that these are the hazards of the job. But while we talk about press freedom, we must remember that there are Nigerians who have paid the ultimate price with their lives. I can call several who died in the line of duty, either killed by terrorists, killed by vicious people who have no respect for the sanctity of the human lives. But yet, some people still believe that the media has not done anything.
Oh, well, Ahmadine, I think we have to leave it at that. We can continue to discuss this and on, and we'll never end. Thank you so much, Ahmadine, for this insight that you provided on Insights. It's been a pleasure listening to you. Thank you so much, my brother Ahmadine.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Yes, before we go, this is to all professionals in the media industry, for those who work round the clock, for those who work in the harshest of conditions, for those who abandon most times their family just to get to the truth of the matter, for those who stare violence in the face, for those who are brave enough, for those who work tirelessly to bring us verified news, to bring us authentic information. This is to say that we appreciate you as Nigerians, as even members of the same professionals. We appreciate you, and this is thumbs up as we celebrate the World Press Freedom Day. Well, that's how much we can take today on Inside. The program returns tomorrow with another interesting topic. My name is Lawrence Umotte. Enjoy the rest of your day.